Abraham is tested. Genesis chapter 22, verses 1 to 19. God came to Abraham. He had already given him promises. He had already sent him from another place. He had already kept his promise that he would have a son, and Abraham named his son Isaac. And now Isaac was a young man. The Lord came to Abraham and said, "Take your son, your only son Isaac, and sacrifice him as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you." Abraham got his donkey. He got his son Isaac. And Abraham, believing and trusting in the Lord, not understanding how this would work out, but the book of Hebrews tells us that Abraham figured that God could even raise his son from the dead. If this was his plan, he would trust the Lord because the Lord had promised and kept his promise in the past. So Abraham took his donkey and his son, took some wood, took some fire, and even took a knife for the sacrifice, and they headed toward the mountain. When they arrived at the foot of the mountain, then they got off the donkey, and on the third day they saw the place where they were going to go, and Abraham put the wood on Isaac, put it on his back, and then Abraham and Isaac headed up the mountain to the place for the sacrifice. On the way up the mountain, Isaac asked a good question. He said, "My father," and Abraham said, "I'm here, my son. I see the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" Abraham answered, "God will provide a lamb for the burnt offering." When they got to the top, that's where they built together an altar. Abraham put the wood on the altar, and then he tied his son down on the altar, and he took the knife as if to sacrifice him. And he was ready to do it, but before he did it, the Lord interrupted. The Lord said, "Abraham, Abraham." And Abraham said, "Here I am." God said, "Do not lay a hand on your son. Now I know you fear God because you did not withhold your only son from me." God had tested Abraham. He had put him to a test, a difficult test. But Abraham had passed it because he was willing to give up his one and only son and trust the Lord in difficult to understand circumstances. Abraham took Isaac off of the altar, and then they looked over. And in a thicket, in some deep bush, in some wooded spot, there was a ram that was caught. The Lord had provided that ram as a substitute. And really this ram is a picture of who Jesus would be. How we all deserve to be sacrificed, but the ram took Isaac's place in the same way that Jesus took our place on the cross. They took that ram and they sacrificed it there to the Lord as an offering of thanks and praise for God's deliverance and his substitution, and looking forward to the ultimate sacrifice of Jesus. And then Abraham said, "I call this place Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Jireh, because on the mount of the Lord it shall be provided." That's what Jehovah Jireh means, the Lord will provide. And that's a reminder for all of us. The Lord has provided Jesus as our substitute and our Savior. And every day, whether we can understand how it's working or not, whether we can really get what's all going on, we can always trust that the Lord has got it. He's in control, and he will always provide it. So we can too say Jehovah Jireh, because the Lord shall provide.